Guys, like, comment, subscribe, share the video, especially if you love MMA as much as I do. For Stipe to win this fight, I've already said he'll finish it in the 4th round if he beats him. That's my pick. For him, he cannot. Here's an advantage he'll have over DC when he fought Jon Jones. There won't be any hatred. There won't be any bad blood. I don't, I don't think there's any disrespect there between the two. You might have a little bit of banter and trash talking back and forth, but I don't think that rivalry is not going to be there. Okay? Because when Cormier fought Jon Jones, he had some success in those fights. I think Stipe can capitalize off it because Stipe will have his head on his shoulders and will be very focused. I think he'll be able to stick to that game plan and not leave openings like Cormier did with his head being exposed or allowing himself to get taken down or not even being prepared or whatever his excuses were for why he lost. For Stipe, he needs to close the distance. He needs to clinch fight as much as possible. Closing the distance will eliminate leg kicks, shin kicks, body kicks, and all the other stuff that Jon Jones wants to do. And he also needs to be really big in this fight, at least 255 pounds, anywhere between 255 and 265. He doesn't need to be a stick like he was at 230 or 240, whatever it was when he fought Francis 2 years ago. He also needs to, now he can't be patient in this fight. He needs to be in Jon Jones' face the whole time. Now, I think this will help him versus Cormier when he fought him. See, when Cormier fought Jones, he was a light heavyweight. He didn't have the power and the strength that he did at 265. Versus Stipe enforcing that on Jon Jones, that will help him. Because again, Stipe is not going to have any kind of hatred. He goes into every fight very focused on what he wants to do. And because he'll be an underdog, that's going to help him. Anytime he's been an underdog, he's come out victorious. So I don't think this will be any different. He'll be hungry for this fight because he wants to beat the greatest UFC fighter of all time in his own weight class. I think being a heavyweight will help Stipe. And Stipe's fighting style, he's gritty, he'll grind you out. Again, clinch fighting Jon will take a lot of Jon Jones' weapons away. He has to be stronger in the clinch. That is a must. So that way Jones doesn't take him down. He has to be able to put Jon Jones against the fence. When he beat Cormier, and when Jones beat Cormier, both were able to put Cormier up against the fence. See, Stipe did it at heavyweight. That's a whole nother story because Cormier is a lot bigger and stronger and harder to handle than he would be at 205. Now, I know Jon Jones moving up will help him, so it won't be as much of a factor. But he has to be strong in the trenches. He has to be able to fend off Jon Jones' wrestling, and he has to be able to be the stronger guy in the clinch. If he can do that, and he has to be able to keep Jon Jones up against the cage. That way Jon Jones can't do anything fancy, and it'll make it harder for Jon Jones to keep his range. If he's in his face, if he can do that for 3 or 4 rounds, he can win this fight. He won't need 5 rounds, and I'll tell you why. Anytime you're digging into someone's body or landing elbows and grinding against them up against the fence and keeping them from moving, and you're making that guy you're beating on carry your weight, you're winning that fight. Eventually that person will break. I think Jon Jones, because this is a heavyweight fight, he won't be able to rely on his size and extra leverage like he did at 205. He's fighting a guy that's going to be about his size, if not bigger. So if Stipe's doing that, which is a must for him, he will eventually wear him down to the point where he can overwhelm Jon Jones and get a TKO stoppage. Now, for the first 3 rounds, for the whole time, Stipe is going to have his head on his shoulders. He's going to have to stay focused. He can't be discouraged. And he needs to just keep doing what he has always done. Do his job and focus. Don't think about something else. Keep the task in hand, and he needs to keep Jones against the cage. When he beat Francis the first time, yes, he had takedowns, but he was able to close the distance. When you close the distance with a guy with a lot of power or even a guy that can wrestle, you take away big shots and you take away the chance of the other guy taking you down and doing what he wants with you. And Stipe is very tough. He's very durable. Again, body shots, maybe step on his feet, step on Jon Jones' feet, make him not want to walk around as much, and make him just stand there. Take Jon Jones down. You're a big, strong guy too. You can do that when you have Jones against the cage. I would avoid doing that for the first round, maybe second round. I would wait to the 3rd round. Once you're imposing yourself and making Jon Jones fight your fight. Keep it basic. Keep it simple. All right, for Stipe. Again, you cannot have distance in this fight. Jones has the best reach advantage in this fight. So you got to be here in his face the whole time. You can't get tired. That's one thing I'll say about Stipe. He doesn't appear to get tired in his fights. He's always pushing forward. All right? And if he can put Jones, the more time he has with Jones putting him up against the fence, taking away his range, and making him fight his fight, which is a clinch fight that he can win this fight. it's possible he can take Jon Jones to decision, winning and grinding him out for 5 rounds. But because Jon Jones has not fought at heavyweight very long, and he hasn't fought a guy who's well-rounded as Stipe as a striker and a grappler, and can go 5 rounds, that's going to be an issue I don't think Jon Jones can overcome, because he's still very inexperienced at heavyweight. Yeah, it's one thing to train with him and then fight your career at 205. It's a whole nother ball game. You know, I just think he'll wear down Jon Jones this way. He'll frustrate him. He'll get him fatigued and get him very tired to the point where he can't fend that off anymore. To the point where he'll do what he did with Cormier, have him against the fence. But Cormier had his distance, but because he didn't have the range, it didn't matter. Stipe can just boom, boom, if they were in the center of the cage. You can't do that with Jones. You got to be in his face like a little pit bull. Once you got a hold of somebody like that, you don't let go. Don't give Jon Jones any room to breathe. Cormier had success in those fights. That's why those were good fights. He didn't win those fights, but that's what helped him in that fight. So, with that being said, I have Stipe overwhelming Jon Jones, getting a 4th round, mid to late 4th round TKO. I think at one point in that fight, those body shots, the elbows to the face, grinding the elbow, controlling the fight would just be too much from a bigger man or a guy about his size. And Jones will just crumble. And I think he gets finished by strikes. TKO. Stipe Miocic. If he fights a smart fight and does what I think he needs to do, he wins.